Well, hey everybody. Good afternoon. So hey, it's Sunday, December 29th. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. This is Justice's Waiting Room, the daily live podcast where we cover news. Well, I mean, for some people it's entertaining. Other people probably not so much. Inspired. It's one of my mods. I was just telling the chat. I think about to get my TikTok unbanned. I keep seeing numbers in the app window. It's telling me it feels like my account's coming back. So there's a link to this live podcast. Okay. Um, Now, what I typically do, in addition to posting that link, okay, you're not a mod here. Fix that. Um, okay. Opening song on this. Hey, Joanne. Opening song on this particular podcast is Edwin Starr's 1969. Well, that's a hit. War. Okay. So while you listen to that on your own, keep it. One of the things that I do different with my podcast is I respect your hearing. I have tinnitus, and I know that I'm gonna lose my hearing one day. And one of the ways, hey Brasher, Inspire and Joanne, it's everybody. Okay. One of the reasons I don't play music and like make you listen to stuff is because I am losing my hearing. And I don't want you to listen to however my computer's able to play music for you. Do you understand? I would rather just say, "Hey, the opening song is this sorry, I'm getting lit up. Gotta mute my phone. That's my buddy asked me to play Fortnite actually. The number one hit in 1970. Yep, 1969 is when it came out. That's when a music video came out there. Um, so yeah, opening song is War, right? Best version of the song is Jackie Chan's. No one's arguing with that. I want to start off with good news. Okay, so keep in mind this is not a ripoff of what is it? Good News, which is the name of a. I'm trying to remember the guy's name from the cast of The Office. What is that actor's name? I always forget his name. Sam Hill? Jim Halpert. John Krasinski. That's his name. John Krasinski started that daily dose of good news, right? And keep in mind, I think it only went like 13 episodes, and he couldn't do it anymore. And for the record, I understand why. It's not like there's like good news every day. Like sometimes some shit happens, and it's like this is all that happened. It sucks. Okay. So notice that that's not what we're doing here. We're not talking about good news every day. So I wanted to start though with personal good news. So as many of you may know, in a 48 to 72 hour window, in the last week or two, I lost hot water and heat in my home, and by choice to a degree. So understand what had happened was, the only reason that we didn't have like a worse problem, methinks, is because I worked for an HVAC company and I took phone calls from people all day whose shit wasn't working. Right? When did you end up having to replace their furnace? I also worked in data entry. So when those technicians turned in their tickets, I knew what was going on that was causing them to have to like replace people's shit. And most of the time, it's because when people's furnaces ain't keeping up, your comfort comes first. And so they just leave the shit running. And if your furnace isn't able to keep up with the desired temperature in your home and you run your furnace anyway, you're going to tear it up. You heard it here first. And when that technician comes out there and your system's over 10 years old and it's the middle of the holidays, they ain't fucking fixing that either. They're going to want to replace it. So for everyone that was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe y'all didn't have heat. You turned your furnace off in the middle of winter. It was over 50 degrees every day." So this was like calculated. Not only do we not really have the money to be fucking with that shit, right? Also, it was going to be unseasonably warm. So, just like my brother-in-law said today, you're lucky you didn't even have to run your furnace the last week. Okay, so thank you, by the way, to one of the members of my community, Jilly, for literally paying for a ceramic space heater for our house. It has done more than its fair share of heavy lifting. In fact, keep in mind we usually keep it about 68 degrees in here. It's like been 73, 74 degrees in here because of a little ceramic space heater. It was about $50 on sale. Okay, I did not think in any part of this playthrough that I would be telling you that I was able to heat my home in the middle of winter with a, you know, that's how big the fan is, or the coil of my ceramic space heater. It's not very big. Whole house. Crazy, right? Plug into the wall. Never thought I'd say that in a million years. For the record, I grew up on space heaters, kerosene space heaters, and them shits didn't work. Okay? It heat if you standing in front of it. I can't tell you, working out in the garage with my dad, I just had fucking flashbacks, lighting kerosene space heaters. Okay, so there's a reason that it just didn't have one. It's because, like, if you ever get to that point, you're fucked. Right? What up, Dakota? But yeah, I wanted to share that good news. My brother-in-law came over today and kind of helped me button up the what I could do portion. Effectively, I had taken it all apart, just taken some screws off, and then I had to unscrew some wires and pull this, probably 100 pound piece of metal off. And we couldn't set it down. We had to have somebody fucking hold it while I looked and did what I could do to see if I could just pull this little baggie that it literally, it was a bag that held furnace filters. If you ever order furnace filters delivered and they come in a little plastic wrap, that's what got sucked into my furnace. But we couldn't find it. Okay, so ultimately I couldn't get. I'm too broad-shouldered, and so is my brother-in-law, to actually stick our front halves all the way in there, see if we could reach down there and get it. But here's the good news: the technician told us, if you just can't see it, grab it, pull it out of there, put that shit back, button it back up, turn that bitch on, and it runs just fine. No worries. Just run your furnace, it'll burn up that bag anyway. So that was the instructions. Wait till you can get somebody out there to help you, because they're going to have to hold it while you look and see if it's up in there. And then you're going to have to stick your body in there and see if you can get back in there and get it. Can't see it, can't do it, button everything back up. Hey, we're going to be just fine. I appreciate everybody's help and concern. I just want to give y'all an update on where we're at. We've basically done what I can do without just getting somebody out here, okay, and spending a bunch of money that I don't have. But I did tell my wife in the next calendar year I want a new fucking furnace, um, new water heater. I don't want to deal with that ever again. Oh man. So it feels like it kind of goes without saying, uh, and I think you got to start with what is readily apparent to me. There have been an inordinate number of airplane crashes, passenger airplane crashes, in the last like week or two, including a large number of casualties. A plane with 181 people on board crashed in South Korea. Then there was the passenger jet they're pretty sure Russia shot down, the Azkaban, right? Like there's that. Um, so yeah, I think that's crazy. 120 people been killed. South Korea's deadliest plane disaster in decades. And you gotta, and I seen and again, we're at the point. One of the problems I foresee isn't this, for the record, the incoming Trump administration, because I don't think that shit's gonna happen. We'll get to that. But one of the things I thought I saw was they had to ground a bunch of airplanes because their computer systems weren't working. One in Canada too. Like I said, I have a feeling that has something to do with Elon. But yeah, there's been a bunch of landing gear failure. Yeah, there's been a bunch of airplane related. Like I said, the one in Azkaban like got shot out of the sky. The leading cause of the crash was a missile, right? And then this South Korea, and then Canada had a landing gear failure. So understand those are all different problems, right? All Boeing. That would be crazy if it was all Boeing. Okay. So I feel like that in my eyes, when we're talking about news and politics, remember I went to Purdue and I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a little kid, right? Actually flown airplanes, right? So I can tell you when there's multiple airplane crashes in a short period of time, something's fucking wrong. Um, yeah, wonder if Elon's messing with Boeing. That trying to destabilize them so he can eke them out of the marketplace and steal their patents and shit or buy them. That's probably what he's thinking about. Guess I'll be keeping my ass at home. No shit. No shit. Couldn't catch me flying. Okay. So I want to make sure. Even flown ears and desire to. Shot it from Russia. See, look. Here's Reuters, right? Here's Reuters. Okay, plane was shot at by Russia. Okay, okay. So I think that's the biggest story of the day. Multiple airline crashes in multiple countries, um, and it's so frequent that it's, jeez. And one of my mods in here are saying, am I, yeah, insane. So I think outside of all the plane crashes, I think the next biggest story from over the weekend has been what appears to be, obviously JD Vance is not in the picture, right? So really, it's Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and sort of like the MAGA part of the GOP appear to be at odds. Obviously, people are waking up to the idea of this being a sort of a class war, right? Starting to see, hey, this was a power play by billionaires. They interjected themselves into politics. Um, and I think that the split, sort of the disconnect between Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and their base that they built. Yeah, just like Joanne said, honeymoon's over. Like I said, I think that's the second biggest story of the day. Is that they're not even in power; they're already at each other's throat. And again, I think it's because of the brilliant political chess played uh, by the Democratic Party in this administration in just shutting the fuck up. And I know that's what people don't want to hear. Um, okay. Yep, Steve Bannon called out the oligarchs yesterday too. Yes, I did see that comment. Okay. So one of the reasons that this is happening is because of the Democrats. Remember, it was the Democrats that came out of that House vote to keep the government open, calling him President Musk and calling Donald Trump Vice President Trump. Do you guys remember I had made a TikTok where I was like, "Hey, this is a nonviolent way to protest this administration. Clearly Elon Musk's pulling the strings. Let's call him President Trump Vice or President Musk Vice President Trump and see what happens." And immediately what happened? It was Elon Musk versus anyone opposing H-1B visas. And then it was Donald Trump acquiescing to Elon, siding with him, seemingly against the GOP. And I'd kind of explained it as, remember that what Project 2025, JD Vance, Donald Trump were purporting is the ultra far right fascist uh, MAGA part of the GOP threatening to take people's rights and shit. Uh, that the foundation of which is racism. And Elon's coming in here and realizing that they're realizing he's a foreigner, that he may be white appearing, but again, as I've said this whole time, David Sachs, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, all these billionaires, all these tycoons, are from South Africa. And so, literally, being anti-immigrant when your party is funded by immigrants, but the core foundation of your party is racism, it's only a matter of time before there's a major split. It's a wild split. Okay? Elon Musk was running the show. Donald Trump was like taking advice. Okay? And again, we got to talk about when the stuff we talk about starts to hit mainstream. Okay? New York Times is talking about how Elon Musk is a national security risk. Okay? I posted that in the comments for you. So you can see it just ain't us, right? It's not smaller news organizations anymore. Um, Bannon speaks to the cult, though. What happens here? I think that the word's gonna get out, right? I think if you're a MAGA, you've got to realize that you know Elon is responsible for the result, and if it doesn't stick, right? If his result doesn't stick, this is what people don't understand. Do y'all remember a while back when I was saying, "Yo, I don't think what people realize happened on election night. Elon Musk and his cronies made a lot of money gambling on this election." And again, people don't care about gambling. I'm a poker player. Gambling has been largely illegal in Indiana my entire life. Okay? So when you gamble, it is illegal in the United States to gamble on the outcome of an election. So understand that that's illegal. A bunch of Elon Musk and his little cronies gambled on this election. Everything they had. It's something like $375 million is how much Elon made on the outcome of this election. And I think that he didn't do his fucking research and he didn't know that, hey, it, it what happens on election night might not stick. I'm willing to bet you Elon Musk thought, all we got to do is win on election night and it's over. They'll just stop counting votes. They'll just call it. It's not the way it worked at all. And so when this election, when you really look at it, like I've said this whole time, when you look at this election, on one side, in the House, the Democrats got closer. They picked up seats. And when you look at the 4 seats that the Republicans picked up in the Senate, all of those cronies of Donald Trump's. You said the other day with Janus won't have a leader with the split. Boy, who's leading them, right? And you seen the cop got convicted that tipped off the Proud Boys on January 6th, right? So there's another, like, there's your plug. There's the guy that was a big leak for you guys. That was an acting police officer that kind of turned on the people. You know, if stolen straight out of the comment sections of Reddit. It's just like Rage Against the Machine said. Yeah. So yeah. From the AP about 15 hours ago, the U.S. is sending another 1.25 billion to Ukraine to get aid out. Okay. So yeah, a lot of people are kind of asking me, how's this gonna go, all that shit. So you got to understand, there's what should happen according to documentation, and then there's the fucking curveballs being thrown into this mix. So understand that on January 3rd, right? That's the next thing coming up, right? That's in 5 days. On January 3rd, the House has to select a new speaker. The GOP is rumored to be ousting Mike Johnson. And that means they're going to have to select someone else. And the rumors I've heard is there's no golden pony. There's no Gavin Newsom. You know what I mean? There's no one in the GOP that's dominantly going to win. Okay? That Democrats are willing to vote for. Knock on fucking wood. Okay? I certainly don't think it'll be Alonia. Okay? So understand that's the first hurdle. They're going to have to select a new speaker. I don't know that they're going to get it done. They're in disarray already. And I want to go back to, so I like to, when I make statements that I can't necessarily back up with fact, I like to point at instances that I can reliably say the Republicans are split. Here's how. They tried to shut down the government, right? And when they went to vote, every round of voting, and I'm going to keep repeating myself because it's like when you're right and you know you're right, you got to keep saying, hey, every round of voting, more people voted with the Democrats. And when I say people, non-Democrats, it was like, if correct me when I'm wrong, but it basically went like 33, 34, 36, 37, 38 people from the GOP went away from the GOP to keep the government open. Okay? When that happens on the keep the government funded bill, right? And then they're expected in, 2 weeks time to about face, sit down, communicate, agree on who they're going to select, and then go in there and fucking do it. You're out of your mind. I've heard the Democrats are in lockstep. They want Hakeem Jeffries. I've also heard there are some Republicans that are like, this is fucking better than Mike Johnson. Shit. And so, I'm one of those people. I will purport some things, but I'm not going to put a bunch of weight behind Hakeem Jeffries being elected to Speaker of the House. Okay? I'm not putting a bunch of weight behind that because I don't know what's going to happen with that gaggle, the other half. You know what I'm saying? The Republicans. You never know what that bunch of fucking idiots is going to do. Okay? So think about that. Moving forward, you're kind of wondering, hey man, how's this going to go? Hell yeah, Jeffrey's president material. Would love it. Okay. So if you think January 6th and 20th are going to be on schedule, okay, you're going to have to talk me out of fuckery on January 3rd. Okay. Once you get me past January 3rd and you're like, Jared, they elect somebody. Who? That's going to matter too. Could absolutely be Hakeem Jeffries. I'm not saying it can't. Let's say it's Hakeem Jeffries. Then on January 6th, when they go to count that, do you think there's going to be no objections? Fucking no. Like, yeah, there should be objections in every fucking state if they were delivered reports from every relevant agency conducted after every election. Those electors should know. Those electors should fucking know. Okay? They should know that there's an issue going into the shit. Okay? One of the things that I got to do, I got to hype up the people that help me. So, Brasher's in the chat. Okay? She sent me some links, and I'm just gonna read them to you. Just the yellow parts, Brash. Kind of expressing what's gonna happen, so that you get an idea. Okay, so January 6th happens. Okay, the president of the Senate during the Congress's counting of electoral votes in January 6th. The objection must be made in writing and signed by at least 1/5 of the senators and 1/5 of the members of the House of Representatives. I don't think they're going to have any problem getting 1/5 of the House and Senate to say that there were irregularities in this election. The only two grounds for objection are acceptable: that the electors of the state were not lawfully certified under a certificate of ascertainment, or that the vote of one or more electors has not been regularly given. And the two instances in which you can purport that the vote of one or more electors has not been regularly given, I actually learned this from St. Gale. St. Gale says if there's been an insurrection or election interference. And that would apply here. So just so you know, I knew that. Okay. And then the next thing is from Congress. Okay. The Electoral Count Reform and Presidential Transition Improvement Act of 2022 says there's an expedited judicial review for any action brought by an aggrieved presidential or vice presidential candidate arising under the U.S. Constitution or U.S. laws with respect to the issuance or transmissions of such a certificate. So it just means the shit moves a lot faster. Okay. Pennsylvania, Connecticut certified a day late. I want to make sure that we point that out, that your host is observant. On the day that shit was due, it was not there. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Dakota, if you hadn't done it, I was going to do it. Shit is weird, right? And I get it. Social dynamics are just not. Check who's in the live on YouTube. Okay. But yeah, we got 14 people in here. Okay. Daylight's bad faith. Oh wait, Brasher on my part? I'm just stating facts, baby. It was not certified at like 8 a.m. the day after. It wasn't certified till after 9 a.m. Eastern the day after it was due on the 26th of December. And I was just like, that's fucked up. Why was it a full day late? Like, I don't understand. I don't think that she was meant that for me. Yeah, it's against the fucking rules. Okay? So obviously, if you're in here, we'd love for you to say hi, introduce yourself. You know, we're trying to build a community here. Bad faith electors, yeah. That's why I was saying, you know, I want to make sure we point it. Why do you think it was late? Okay, so inspired in Pennsylvania, that's where Elon spent the last month before the election. And remember, when he left, he was like, oh, we're winning Pennsylvania. And it's just like, hey, I'm left handed. I shoot right handed and do everything else lefty. So I'm sort of ambidextrous. Everything I do violently, I do right handed. Everything non violent, I do left handed. Weren't just reported. Yes, there were. There are fake electors that voted in this election that are being sued right now. So that's happening too. Yeah. Not fully. I don't have a dominant eye. I can shoot right-handed or left-handed. I can't write right-handed or left-handed. I can only write left-handed. But I type formally, right? So yeah, like I said, I think, you know, in my eyes, it's been slow news weekend. Okay. Hey, Andrea. Welcome everybody. Again, for those of you, if it's your first time, my name is Jared Malott. This is Justice's Waiting Room. This is a daily live podcast where, as you can see, I'm talking with the chat. So it's not like you're going to be in my chat and I'm not going to interact with you. Okay. The difference between this podcast and every other podcast you've been on is I don't have anyone, I don't have a Jamie. Okay. I'm just a dude. Okay. So I'm sitting in front of a computer. I'm able to look stuff up. I'm able to back up my statements with facts. And primarily, what we're talking about is what are the most relevant news stories that we should be talking about. And in my opinion, and so I have to decide what are we going to talk about. And I thought there have been like 3 plane crashes in the last 3 fucking days. I think that's a huge story, right? And then the GOP, MAGA, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, they're all fighting right now. And, well, Joanne, happy stinking birthday. What are you, like 25? And I agree with you, Inspired. I think this next week is going to be insane. So I think here's an apt comparison. You remember the week after the election when there was all them raids and shit? I think it's going to be like a hyper version of that. I think they're going to be raids. I think people are going to get arrested. And again, I want to point out, talking about an expedited trial and shit like that, a lot of people have said it doesn't matter if Donald Trump cheated or not, that you can't get him out of office. He's going to be the president. And it's like, no, it's expedited. Everything's gonna happen bang, 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 bang. And it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. Once that 14th Amendment chatter started to hit the register again, you understand. So I want to make sure everyone understands. I'm not saying this because I think I'm right. Okay? Yeah. Okay. So when you look at the 14th Amendment, okay? So I'm gonna copy paste this into our chat, okay? This is your 14th Amendment, okay? So when you look at the 14th Amendment, section 1, okay? What this is going to protect you from is deportation, okay? Yeah. Findings of Executive Order 13848 are going to come out on January 6th. That's a great assertion. If you're correct, hey, bonus points. A lot of people have said shit like we'll never see anything. So for someone to be like, we're gonna see something on January 6th, like, okay. Inspired said, I just want to see everybody in orange jumpsuits. Me too. Okay, so I want to point out, okay, the 14th Amendment and why Donald Trump wants to get rid of it. The obvious is Section 3. Okay? So we're going to put a pin in that first. The first part, you can't deport American citizens unless you remove naturalization and remove citizenship. And the first section of the 14th Amendment protects you against things like illegal deportation and shit. Okay? So understand the reason they want to get rid of the 14th Amendment. Okay? It's not they're not trying to get rid of the 14th Amendment because they want to deport people. Okay? That's a cover. It sounds crazy. It's going to get a lot of eyeballs, but Section 3 is really why. It's not because they don't know. It's because Donald Trump has fucking dementia. So he knows that there's something fucked up about the 14th Amendment. I just can't remember. It's something's with the 14th Amendment. And when somebody goes and looks at it for Donald Trump, they're like, well, hell yeah, Section 1 got to get rid of this 14th Amendment because it allows us to target and denaturalize people and deport people if we get rid of the 14th Amendment. And Donald Trump's like, oh yeah, there's this plan in Project 2025 to deport like 14 million fucking people. Understand this. I would not sit here and tell you this. I mean, I'm telling you this until I'm blue in the face. Okay? Deportation is a crime against humanity according to the International Criminal Court. So you can't fucking do that. Okay? You can't illegally fucking deport people and denaturalize people and shit. The reason that they want to get rid of the 14th Amendment, the reason that they're talking about deportation as a fucking distraction. And remember, everything is a fucking distraction. The deportation gets a lot of eyeballs. The 14th Amendment Section 1, you read it and you're like, oh no shit, that goes together. You want to deport 14 million people? How the fuck are you going to do it legally? Get rid of the 14th Amendment. Woohoo! Everybody can go have tea and crumpets now. We fucking solved the case. No. It's because of fucking Section 3. It says, no person shall be senator or representative in Congress or elector of president, so keep that in mind, elector of president and vice president, or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or any other state who have previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. So for the record, given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof, they've definitely done that shit. Okay? And then understand, as I've said, the way I read the 14th Amendment Article 3, so that everybody's had it read to you, and then also understands this is what it means. It says, and I quote, if you've held public office and participated in an insurrection, you wear disqualification like a scarlet letter. This means that you are just disqualified from public office. And the way it works as far as removing your disqualification, okay? So you wear it. You wear disqualification all the time. It's a scarlet letter. It fits Donald Trump perfectly, okay? The only way to lift disqualification is to have both droit, 2/3 of the Senate and the House have to vote to remove disqualification and give Donald Trump the presidency. That is not happening in a million fucking years. Okay? So understand that when they run out and they say we want to deport 14 million people, we want to rescind the 14th Amendment, that yes, if you're this deep, you look at that and you go, "Oh, that makes sense. They're going to deport a bunch of people. They got to get rid of the 14th Amendment in order to do that." Okay. Deportation is a crime against humanity according to the International Criminal Court. So not only was that never the fucking reason they were getting rid of the 14th Amendment, but you wasn't never deporting anyone. The International Criminal Court's coming. Okay? So the reason they want to get rid of the 14th Amendment is because of that Section 3 right there, which means they know it exists. If you're trying to get rid of an amendment, you've probably read it. Okay? So they know. It's just, again, Donald Trump has fucking dementia. So he's been in a meeting where somebody's been like, hey, you know this 14th Amendment Article 3 is going to fuck us. And he's just been like, whatever. Who cares? And it's come back where somebody comes to him and says, you know, it's 14th Amendment, right? And I don't remember. I just have to get rid of it all. Wasn't that part of that deportation scam? Trying to get rid of the 14th Amendment so Donald Trump can be president despite being a traitor and an insurrectionist and convicted in 2 courts of doing so. Yeah. That's one of here's the thing. I feel the same way about Donald Trump as I do my old man. Okay? They're both fucking absolutely horrific people that there aren't dire enough consequences for that bad of people. There aren't dire enough consequences for that bad of people. And now Donald Trump's got dementia. My old man has like brain damage. So I could be really mad at my old man for being abusive as fuck and cheating on my mom and fucking raping his sister when they were little kids, never having to pay any fucking, was never held to any accountability at all. I could go be physically violent with that person and make him feel the weight of my anger towards him. Right? And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would say the same about Donald Trump. Dead ass. There's a lot of people like, I'd beat that old dude to death. But it's hard for me. Because I know that the person inside that body is not my old man anymore. He has had brain damage. His brain functioning is different now. Donald Trump has dementia. Again, he's a horrible person. But his brain's different now. And so now it's about just getting him out of the fucking way so that you can do everything else. So he just isn't eligible. He's not eligible for office. He didn't divest from Truth Social to be able to sign the emoluments clause. He didn't sign the ethics agreement. He hadn't signed the transition paperwork. For the record, one of the early ways I knew he was never going to be president is he didn't sign the transition agreement because it was supposed to give him money. And he's been having all these people come to Mar-a-Lago and give him like $1 million. And it's like, hey, idiot, if you were actually going to be president, you needed to sign the fucking transition paperwork so you could get the fucking money. And I think it's like $160 million. You don't care, you won't remember who hit him first, right? Right? And I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. I think there's a lot of people that are so angry at this whole situation. And it's been like 8 years of this bullshit. And again, I just think we're at the tail end of that shit. You understand? Like I think we're at the tail end of that shit. It's hard. I know it's hard to believe. I know there's plenty of people out there that are like, hey, he's gonna be president. There's nothing you can do about it. It's like, actually, there's a system of checks and balances here. And remember, one of the chief arguments against changing the outcome of the election is time. Okay. Yeah. Garrett said he never gets held accountable for anything does, and I'm angry about that. Well, understand the way the justice system works is you always go after the biggest crime possible. So part of the justice system, the reason they've done this the way they've done it is catch a big fish, right? Remember, they've been monitoring Donald Trump's relationship with Russia for more than 37 years. So if you know that Russia, our biggest enemy, has been monitoring him for over 37 years, and they keep letting him off, don't you think it's because they know he's going to commit no shit fucking treason? And he has. And things are going to happen. Yeah, we might see a circle declare him ineligible this week, trying to put JD Vance in place. That's why he's been quiet this whole time. You know, I could see Donald Trump's health start to fall apart here. This is a good time. You know, he made it really far. Um, but understand, like, you got to make it to get inaugurated. You know what I mean? And they're still gonna be able to try him posthumously. So you can't be posthumously president. Okay. And understand. Yeah. So one of the things that I've talked about from the beginning is that that they're in a I think they're in a little bit of a snafu. In that I'm pretty positive they select JD Vance because he's a tech bro, buddies with Elon. You could just slide him into Donald Trump's spot and do all the things that you wanted to do anyway. But here's the thing: if they're trying to use the 25th Amendment to make JD Vance the president, Donald Trump's got to get in office. He's not eligible to be president. And when you vote, you vote one time and you pick the president and you're automatically voting for that vice president. You don't get to you couldn't have voted in this election for Donald Trump and Tim Walz. If you could have, then I could absolutely see a situation in which JD Vance becomes president if Donald Trump's not eligible for office. But because they run as a pair, and when you vote, you can only vote for one. When one of them's ineligible, they're both ineligible. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, and the thing about JD Vance, okay? JD Vance is one of the original architects of Project 2025. He was bankrolled by Peter Thiel, and this is all 3 years before January 6, 2021. So there's almost no way JD Vance's hands are clean here. And there's almost no way he didn't support this insurrection. He didn't give aid or comfort to the enemy. You're the money, right? Yeah. There's no precedent here, meaning they just haven't been on this road before. Fortunately, as I've said, Constitution is pretty rare. Mm-hmm. Okay, here's another one. Here's that thing from Canada. So, what happens if no presidential candidate gets 270 electoral college votes? So, what people are asking now is what happens when on January 6th, Donald Trump loses states because of election interference. And remember, that's one of the reasons that your votes can be withheld. Um, if no candidate gets a majority, yeah, I'm getting ready to read it, Dakota. So this is from archives.gov. Bra- Brasher sent it to me. Jilly, I'm about to tell you. Listen, listen, listen. Assuming that all 538 electoral votes are available, if no candidate receives a majority of electoral votes, the presidential election leaves the electoral college process and moves on to Congress. The House of Representatives elects the president from the three presidential candidates who receive the most electoral votes. Each state delegation has one vote, and it is up to the individual states to determine how to vote. Since the District of Columbia is not a state, it has no state delegation in the House and cannot vote. A candidate must receive at least 26 votes, a majority of the states, to be elected. Okay? The Senate elects the vice president from the two vice presidential candidates with the most electoral votes. Each senator casts one vote for vice president. Since the District of Columbia is not a state, it has no senators, so it does not participate in the vote. A candidate must receive at least 51 votes, a majority of the senators, to be elected. If the House of Representatives fails to elect a president by Inauguration Day, the vice president elect serves as acting president until the deadlock is resolved in the House. But remember, they're not eligible because of the 14th Amendment, Article 3. And I think that you're going to find out on Election Day when they go to submit their Electoral College votes that they can't submit their Electoral College votes for ineligible candidates. And that's how I think it's going to go. I think Kamala Harris gets more than 270 Electoral College votes and becomes president because states see, because it does not say, what we've read so far does not tell us what do the states do with their electoral votes should they be meant for an eligible candidate. Do they not have to just vote for the eligible candidate on the ballot and say, well, Donald Trump and JD Vance are not eligible, Kamala Harris and Jill Stein got the most votes here, so Kamala Harris is our vote for president from our state. So I'm going to throw that out there too. You know what I mean? A lot of people are pointing out a lot of different things that could happen, but you got to think about what happens when those electors go to submit their electoral college votes. You can't submit those votes for a candidate that's ineligible. So there should be 0 states voting for Donald Trump because he's ineligible because of the 14th Amendment, Article 3. You were told this, not like the people in my audience, but those electors were told that. I promise you. Look at the way it works. Electors can't do that. Okay? Dee Brasher says they're not counted. So in the 7 swing states, they just take those away. So what about processing elect? So here's the thing. Okay? So here's what I found in prosecuting election crimes. Okay? Remember this document that I put? Okay? When we look at prosecuting election crimes, okay, I get what you're saying, but here's the thing that you can also do. I'm reading. Cost of election theory. Page 72. There's precedent to order a new election. United States versus DeFreeze. You're welcome. Page 72 of Prosecution of Election Crimes Documents. But yeah, I think in that Prosecuting Election Crimes document, it talks about what you can do with fraudulent ballots. Again, I. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And remember, one of the things I want to make sure that we say is it's always worth it. Because there's always going to be people like, it's so confusing. Is it even worth it? And it's definitely worth it. Every legal avenue should be taken to keep Donald Trump out of the office of president. You know, one of the reasons, for the record, that you could refuse to certify the election is because Donald Trump has no loyalty to the Constitution. And he said that. Did you know that? So if the guy that wins the election says fuck your constitution as soon as I get into office, fucking all of that shit, she does not have to give him the presidency. I got a go check this out. I got a message from the welcome bot from this new subreddit that I found called "Who Watches the Watchmen," and they reported Turning Point USA to the FBI for potential election interference on Veterans Day 2024. I've gathered sources and links to support my theory, along with random political issues and humor on the sub. Update as often as I can. They split from Something's Wrong 2024 to gather evidence separately related to poll workers and hiring organizations. I just think it's an interesting subreddit. Who watches the Watchmen? Um, put that in the chat. Okay. It's just interesting if you're also interested in like yeah, hold on, Brasher. Doesn't it say vice president elect? Yeah. Vice president elect serves as acting president until deadlock's resolved. So again, they don't have to put Donald Trump in. They're not just going to stick him in the job and then take him off the job. Just so everybody knows it's not going to happen. If there is no House Speaker elected on the 3rd, there's no cert on the 6th, there's no inauguration on the 20th. Okay? The time frames no longer match. So again, you can't even put him in office. That isn't happening either. So in that situation, it'd be Tim Walz, voted in by the Senate. So it's whoever they elect. I'm assuming that's Tim Walz. I'm assuming it's Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, based on yeah, because yeah, I know because you got to think what's going on right now. Because remember, it's not the new administration; it's this administration. So current House Senate makeup. Okay. The Senate is 5149. Okay. They ought to be able to the Senate, they ought to be able to get a VP. Okay. The House looks like it's 219 to 211 Republican. But the Republicans are in disarray and they've got to come to an agreement on president. I can almost guarantee the Democrats are in lockstep. So it's going to come down to the Republicans deciding who to vote for. I don't think they're going to be all 219 are going to vote for a legitimate political candidate. After the EO report comes out, charges are filed and dropped, and people are declared ineligible. People don't understand. Like, it isn't just Donald Trump. It's not just JD Vance. It's Donald Trump, JD Vance, and the MAGAs that also won their fucking races because it's every election. Every election. Not just the So remember, but who would be. Oh, so then it would be Tim Walz would be the president. The president until this is resolved. assuming Tim Walz is who the Senate votes for. In this situation. So yeah, I think that you already saw the House split over shutting down the government. I think that there are smart people within the Republican Party remaining. There's not very many, less than 40, okay? Um that are going to try to do the right thing. And it can be split party selections. Yep, so absolutely. Could be a Republican elected a president, a vice president elect could be a Democrat, should be a Democrat. They should all be in lockstep. Should Yeah, could end up with a Republican president and Democrat vice president. But I think that the ineligibility clause goes pretty far. Things are going to have to change. Somebody new in our chat, also, how could a new election be guaranteed to be free and fair? Things are going to have to fucking change, right? Things are going to have to change. That's the answer. Things are going to have to change. Can't keep doing this. Can't keep using these election systems, these dominions and all that. Yeah. Something to keep in mind. Yeah. One of the oaths of from Article 6 of the United States Constitution establishes the supremacy of the Constitution. So remember the supremacy clause. But it says all officers of the United States must swear an oath to support the Constitution when taking office. So you got to know. You got to know. I'm telling you, there's a bunch of people that aren't eligible for office. They can't be the person. Okay. Been going at it for a little over an hour. So of course we'll see. I think that the Department of Justice always gets its man, and that there is nothing here telling me that every possible avenue that could be taken will be. A lot of people have come to me and said like recounts, like what was up with recounts, and I figured it out. So I believe in Michigan and Pennsylvania they hit recounts first. Okay, and they started a recount in Pennsylvania and they stopped it. I think it's because, yeah, it's either, yep, we are on the literal cusp of democracy falling or not. Um, it's crazy to think, oh, there's nothing that can be done. Our constitution doesn't cover for this. Like, nah, man. There's laws. These people committed crimes. The reality is, like, did they commit crimes that keep them out of office? And the answer to me is yes. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, specifically, the people that would be the president, vice president, are not eligible for office. And I think that comes up on the 6th. If on the 3rd, the House is able to elect a new Speaker of the House. And again, I'm just going to keep repeating myself. I don't think that happens. I think they're in disarray. I especially think there's an issue here. And when I say issue, is that how I feel is going to change depending on what happens with the Speaker of the House. There's a lot of people that are saying, I think it could be Hakeem Jeffries, for example. Well, that's going to change some things on the 6th. Yeah. So that's why everything that can be done needs to be done. Right. Exactly right, Joanne. Okay. Um, One of the things that I feel like we have to talk about here is we've got to talk about how people perceive death, and how one of the things that's troubling for me as someone that was in the military is finding out that North Korea is sending their worst. I know that it's war, Jared, and people are equal, and no. North Korea is not sending its best military. They're sending their worst to Russia in support, and they're malnourished, and they're poorly trained, and they're not ready, and they're having to be trained up before they can be sent to the front line. And the problem is they're offing themselves rather than get caught. And they're finding letters on their person where that's their instructions, is to pull the pin of the grenade and put the grenade under your chin and let it go. And that's super troubling. Not only are you not sending your fucking best, you're sending people that are woefully unprepared. They're malnourished. They're not ready to fight. They're having to be trained up before they get sent to the front lines, and they're offing themselves before they're getting captured. I think that's telling. It's, to me, North Korea doesn't expect to win. They're getting something out of this. They sent something they don't value, right? Part of the reason a lot of people have come to me and said, if the U.S. was going to do anything, they'd have done put boots on the ground. And as someone that served this country during a time of war in the infantry of the military, you don't want us on the ground. You don't want US troops on the ground in country that's being attacked. That's just how you get a bunch of American soldiers targeted and killed right now. Okay? So I know a lot of people have those questions too, like how come the US isn't doing more militarily? And I would primarily say, well, Ukraine is not a NATO member yet. But I will say NATO's Twitter did post a Ukraine tweet that was a video with the Ukraine flag in it in the last 24 to 48 hours. So I'm pretty sure, I've been saying it, Ukraine's going to become a NATO member. They've got 40,000 NATO troops in Ukraine. And as I've said, let one of them NATO troops get hit. Now things are going to happen there too. Okay? And I've been saying, right. And I don't think there's any way Congress doesn't abide by law. And I know a lot of people are just like, I don't see it. I don't see it. Dude, in elections past, you wouldn't have found out about election fraud till years later. That's not the way data moves anymore. And again, I've been saying it this whole time. 250 countries monitored our election. The president, a month out, and a bunch of 3 and 4 letter agencies talked about it. Talked about totally seeing this shit coming. The day before the election and the day of the election, the ODNI, the Office of the Director of the Department of National Intelligence, they fucking knew this shit was coming. They had years in advance, 37 years of monitoring the situation. They knew this shit. They conceded super fast. Not a single relevant person in the Democratic Party's come out and said, "We lost this election. It's time to look ahead to 2026 and 2028. Let's talk about who your candidates are." And again, I'm going to keep pointing to things I can evidence and say, "Hey, do you know who your Democratic candidates are for 2026 and 2028? And since you don't know who those people are yet, that's because that's not what the Democratic Party is focusing on right now. Because if they can't get this right in the next month, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We may never have another free and fair election ever again. Okay? Yeah. The VP elect is voted by the Senate. Okay? And again, we see that the Senate is majority Democrat. We'll expect um what if they I don't know because let's say you could flip or yeah, we can do anything other than and then hope they do the right thing, right? Um okay. Right. Right. Okay. So I would do this, okay? There's a link to our subreddit, Something's Wrong 2024. In that link, it says invoke U.S. Code, the 14th Amendment, Article 3, January 6th, and forensic audit, election 2024. Okay? Okay? Open letter to Congress. Okay? That's different than the one we did the other day. Okay? And then I also want to make sure that you guys know, okay? Because remember, I hope you are, I hope you get a sense of leadership from me, and that I'm not just a fucking talking head. I am available outside of my podcast. I'll let you know what social media sites I use. I use fucking Blue Sky. I use YouTube. Okay, and I was on TikTok. Okay, I have a feeling I'm gonna get that account restored. And the only real notification that I have is I keep getting a notification that I have notifications. And when I go to scroll to that app, I see number and it keeps going up in the little app window for you to click on it and open the app. That tells me I'm getting restored function. Because like you wouldn't have got any of that. You wouldn't you see that. Okay. Um, and then I also want to share this again. This is a link to our subreddit. Something is wrong 2024, and there you can see Saint Gail from TikTok. There's about a 9-minute video on possible outcomes on January 6th, and I'm trying to find y'all. Okay, where in the world? There. Jessica Denson's organizing a protest. Okay. Again, another link to Something's Wrong 2024. Uh, okay. Hosted by nowmarch.org. This is a peaceful protest. Um, from what I understand in DC, March 3rd to the 5th, majority of the protest is, did I say March? I meant January. Sorry. January 3rd to the 5th, okay? Majority of the protest will be on the 4th, okay? And I want to make it delays everything. Lori asked, what happens if they can't decide on a speaker? It delays everything. It delays certification, it delays the inauguration. So I understand there's a protest, there's a petition. These are things you can do instead of smear shit on the Capitol walls or participate in an insurrection. Just in case anybody wondered, you know, what could have Ashley Babbitt done differently? She could have not broken into the fucking U.S. Capitol. She could have participated in a nonviolent protest. She could have just signed a fucking petition. So if any of you have any like out of body experiences planned for the near future for the old Democratic Party, just know that ain't how we do shit over here. Okay? Hopefully you all are like laughing, right? We're not smearing shit on the US Capitol walls. We're not climbing up a wall when we could have just went up the fucking stairs and walked right in the front door. Okay? We're going to peacefully assemble and protest. Nobody's going to get hurt or die. Okay? And again, everything before this I have said is unnecessary. Okay? I am supporting this peaceful protest, right there in the correct window, January 3rd to 6th, right? Like I said, 3rd to the 5th in DC. People are going to ask, is it going all over? It's going to expand. Okay? People are just waking up. Many people that voted in this election have not given it a fucking second thought since election night. Most people ain't sitting in this YouTube live. Most people aren't on my YouTube. They're not in my Discord. They're not on any of the content that I create. They're not talking about it on fucking Blue Sky. They're not talking about it on fucking Twitter. Okay? It's not being talked about on Facebook. Okay? I hate to be like that, but the really only place to talk about what happened on election night and what's going to happen here, okay, is Something's Wrong 2024. And then I have a daily live podcast. I would be talking about other content creators, but I lost access to TikTok, so I can't even recommend anyone, right? Because I can't consume the content. And again, here's from the Daily Beast. Seemed to be like the most reasonable article talking about no inauguration on the 20th. Okay. There it is. Jesus. Here's the link to Jessica Denson's major announcement for a historic peaceful protest telling Congress they gotta block them. Okay. And then the reason that we were kind of talking about Elon Musk and that whole split is because what I'm kind of seeing is it looks like Elon Musk is starting to hold some contempt for MAGA. So this is the voters, this is the elected officials in that whole MAGA camp that are kind of Matt Gaetz and Elon Musk are tussling on the internet. Okay? They're the leopards are eating my face party are eating face. Okay? So everybody's, they're wondering, Jared, how is this gonna work? It ain't. It ain't. They're infighting because they know it's all gonna fall apart. Okay? About 10 minutes left. Okay. And like I said, a lot of what has been shared this weekend, it has to do with data coming out of the election, and that's only strengthening my argument. Okay, just so I've said it, there's no data that I've seen coming out of this election suspicious. There's an underlying motive regarding what, why Elon holding contempt for the MAGA, because again, they are racist. Ultimately, that's a major platform policy, and Elon and his homies. Again, remember how I'm saying, like, look, I'm a Grisham kid. I'm one of them kids that read John Grisham books when I was a little kid. This feels like a legal snafu they're just not ready for. They don't understand. Yeah, the MAGA split. I think it's because there's an argument going on that has been going on. It's like no one will listen to me but you, Brasher. Listen, 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 listen. This is what is happening. The MAGA are fucking split on the 25th Amendment. Hear me. The MAGA are fucking split on the 25th Amendment. You got to hear me. Half of them believe Donald Trump's going to be elected, and they're going to use the 25th Amendment to make JD Vance the fucking president, connecting the fucking tech bros, right? And fucking Project 2025 does its fucking thing. The other half of them fucking people, they know that Donald Trump is not president. The 25th Amendment doesn't apply. Donald Trump is wildly unhealthy. There's a chance he doesn't even make it to fucking election day, and I'm not talking about him getting fucking shot. I'm talking about he's fat, he's old, he has clear drug addictions, and he has a shitty fucking diet. And I know everybody's could not roll their eyes fucking hard enough. Neither could the fucking plaque in his arteries. Okay? So I'm just pointing out the shit that I observe. Exactly. Bannon speaking out. It's a planned coup, right? I mean, Elon Musk thinks he got away with it. He's already moved on to Germany, right? And again, I think that has to do with looking for a place to flee. So if you were taking notes on shit that Jared said that's going to happen, they're going to try to run. Okay? I think that's why there's some split here. And ultimately, it's because they're going to I just thought about that. Cuz there's Republicans that have told Donald Trump like I'm not about this shit at all. There are some Republicans that have vocalized that they're not supporting this regime, and they're not all in lockstep. That's one of the things that's like giving me energy is, hey, there was a plan to shut down the fucking government and fuck up a lot of people's benefits, and they failed. And for the record, they cut out $20 billion in funding, and they cut research for child cancer and shit out of that. It got funded in other bills. Okay, his shitty pants. Yes. So yeah, I just want to make sure nothing's changed, and I'm gonna keep saying that. Like, I'm not saying different things where I'm like, oh yeah, I guess Don's gonna be president. I'm not Midas Touch. Okay, I'm not gonna waste my time hosting a live podcast telling you shit I don't believe. Okay, I believe that when I read the 14th Amendment, Article 3, it disqualifies Donald Trump, JD Vance, it disqualifies a whole bunch of fucking people, right? That have given aid to or participated in insurrection. All the people that participated in insurrection, like 1,600 fucking people, have all been tried and are in fucking jail related to the actual assault upon the Capitol. Okay? Bobby Joe down the street from me isn't leaving this state. Where are those people going? What will they do? That's I just think we're in uncharted fucking territory. Right. Right. 14th Amendment Article 3, that's no Donald Trump, no JD Vance, no Marjorie Taylor Greene, no think about who could lead the Republican Party back from this, and there's no one. So that I think that's why there's a fracture now is they're starting to actually have to read fucking law and the constitution and try to figure out how are we supposed to navigate this because we're just assuming like they're cold idiots as far as I'm concerned. When I watch their behavior and like how they're proceeding through this, it's like they think if they just barrel and get there that they don't have to sign any of that stuff and they're going to be president, right? And again, I think that the GOP is split. The camps are split because there's people that are like, nah, man, if Donnie don't make it, we'll just slide JD Vance in his spot. And I'm just out here saying that can't happen. That's not happening. Just so everyone knows. Shit, I missed the live replay. I know Cyril's place. So that's kind of a double-edged sword. So the problem, right? That's the reason to be on the live. Make sure you don't miss my show, right? Because when you're live in the chat, you get live links that I post in the chat that you can go click on and follow along with me. And you're like, hell yeah, this guy's showing you his research, showing you my notes, everything. Okay. And we have a Discord where a lot of links go. But here's the thing, we had to crack down on the privacy of the Discord because what was happening is people infiltrated my Discord, lied about their identity, and then it turned out that they were content creators stealing uh the links that I was posting, using that content to create content without like talking to me about it and being like, "Hey man, I appreciate what you've done here. You've created a community. You're putting a lot of effort into it. I want to totally use you in your community and not communicate with you and talk to you about it. And I just want to use what you come up with." And that's what happened. So we kind of had to crack down on my community and say, you know, I hate to burst everyone's bubble, but like you can't I can't sit in environments that are that toxic. So a lot of people have been like, "Oh, create alternative accounts on Twitter, on TikTok." And no, no, I fucking hate TikTok. It's a garbage ass app. I'll get on Neptune. I'm gonna do the same damn thing I was doing on TikTok on fucking Neptune. But yeah, the big problem is that if you become enemies with bigger content creators, they can just brigade report your account and your content and get you banned, and there's nothing you could do about it. Yeah, so that's I mean that would be the biggest thing coming out of the weekend. Tomorrow is that Jack Smith report. It's supposed to be incriminating. Is coming out tomorrow. So again, I fully expect that to just be explosive, and that right there be enough to kind of put the brakes on some shit. Is what I see coming. Is as I see that Jack Smith report getting released, and there just being too many people up in arms. Too many people up in arms. Too many people starting to show up to protest. Like, all right, yep, that's about enough of that. And as I've said this whole time, okay, I up until this juncture have not spoke on protest, and I have warded people away. I felt like it's too early. You gotta kind of let the government suck, okay? And in this particular spot, I don't think we've been at the protest spot yet, but come January 3rd, 4th and 5th, I'm on it. I'm with it. I'm a big supporter of this. It's a nonviolent protest. We're not planning to go up there and do a bunch of dumb shit. This is a nonviolent protest. This is to encourage Congress to act and say, "Hey, Donald Trump's not fucking eligible." And again, I'm just sticking my neck out and saying, "So are a bunch of other fucking people." And again, there has to be an investigation into every election. And I have a feeling that there was so much election fraud and election interference. And I even showed you on the prosecuting election crimes document today. I have never said that out loud before. That I found a section of that document that talks about rerunning an election. So don't get that out of your brain. Don't let yourself, you know what I'm saying? Think that there's nothing that can be done. Okay? There's a lot of what we expect to happen. There's a million possibilities that could still happen. I again, I think there's a 0% chance Donald Trump becomes president. I've been saying that since January 6, 2021. I was like, well, if he wanted to run for a second term, he literally cannot be president. And that was because of the 14th Amendment, Article 3. So know that. I've known that this whole fucking time. Like, he's not eligible for the job. But this week ahead of us, yes. Just like Brasher says there in the comments. Good. You're fucking great, Brasher. She said this is going to be a doozy. This whole week's going to be a fucking doozy. Goddamn right. You know what word I'm getting fucking tired of? You know what single fucking word? Every day when I wake up, I'm like, ah! Unprecedented. I'm getting fucking tired of that shit. Like every goddamn day. Unprecedented. And you're like, oh shit. Like that means that this ain't happened before, and now we're just in uncharted territory. And I feel like that is like been every day since the election. It's like the fucking Twilight Zone, right? Like I cannot believe this is a situation we're in. Think about just, and I'm not trying to freak anyone out. I'm not trying to freak anyone out. So don't think that by ending my podcast this way, I'm trying to leave y'all in a panic attack, okay? Think about just what's going on in the air in the last week or two. Orbs, aliens come out of the fucking ocean, fucking drones, multiple fucking aircraft shot out of the fucking sky. Like, from what I understand, and again, I didn't actually verify that this was true, but I heard that they had to emergency land a bunch of airplanes the other day too, worldwide. Okay? And I'm not scared. I ain't scared. This isn't me being like, oh shit. Where's Rod Serling? Right? So yeah. It's getting about that time. Okay? Remember, the end of my podcast, just like the beginning, okay? We start on Edwin Starr's War, and we end on Aerosmith's Eat the Rich. Okay? So I'm going to put that in the comments. Okay? You got the right key, baby, but the wrong key. Hold, yo. Okay. So the way I do it is I'll end the show when I'm done listening to this song. Savvy? So have a good rest of your day, everybody. Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Okay. And remember, I'm live every day, 8:30 a.m. to about 10 a.m. Understand the last show I did. I was gonna tell them about the good news. Okay, I got a fucking badass job offer. It's gonna affect the evening show during the week. Okay, as my hours are like noon to 9 or 11 to 8 or some shit. Okay. Julie said you get your windows smashed out. Yeah. Um. Yeah, I would absolutely stay at home. Don't fly anywhere. That's for fucking sure. Right. Garrett, I was gonna say we are gonna invite you to the Garrett. There's an invite to the Discord. Garrett and Searles. If you guys want to click that Discord invite. Okay. But yeah, I'll be here. And again, I haven't started the job yet, so I'm just setting y'all up for the future. I'm letting you know. I'm all in on the morning show during the week. Okay. Might not get to do 2 shows because I got a job I got to do. But the good news is, I don't know if you guys have caught it. I haven't talked about money and been like, I got to do this fucking Patreon shit, even though that's not what I came here for. You got to pay me on PayPal because I don't trust taking money from anywhere because I'm not trying to get fucked over on money, right? Now I don't even give a fuck about the money. We're not even talking about that anymore. We don't need, so this is me not talking about money, talking about money, okay? Because I just got a job offer that, again, the average person's making 150,000. So because that's going to impact me, it's going to impact how I think about the show. So I can continue to put a crazy amount of effort into this. Okay? Because I'm not in dire straits doing it. I hope that tracks. I hope people are like, "Oh, that's a good thing." Yes, it's a fucking good thing. Okay? So hey, I appreciate everybody. I mean, we got 13 people in here at the very end. Okay? So have a good rest of your weekend. Look forward to getting together tomorrow, talking shit, listen, reading the Jack Smith report because I have a feeling that's gonna be another one. Like, remember Joe Biden pardoning his fucking son? I was like, fireworks. Jack Smith's fucking report comes out, fireworks. Okay, so y'all have a good rest of your evening. Yeah, thanks, John. What was I supposed to? People was asking about. Oh, hey, don't forget before I get out of here, get 8 hours of sleep, drink water, eat healthy, exercise, take care of yourselves first. Okay? Take care of yourselves first. You don't want to be stressed out when all this shit's popping off. That's how you have a heart attack. Okay? But how you have a heart attack is not get 8 hours of sleep, not eat 3 good meals a day, not drink fucking water, right? Do illegal fucking drugs and shit. Hey, I've been talking about Elon Musk and Donald Trump's behaviors and how dangerous they are. Like, don't be surprised if that rears its ugly fucking head once Jack Smith's fucking report drops. Don't be surprised if the other shoe drops, Elon Musk gets in more trouble. Remember that in the last month, Elon Musk has been publicly threatened with an indictment from the SEC. I don't think that's over. I don't think this is over. Okay? I just think the weekend's kind of cold, frankly. So, have a good rest of your evening. We'll talk